and Astudillo.
There you go.
It's great to have you on set. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about this fast LNG project. You just filed these applications yesterday. It's going to be off the coast of Louisiana, and the fact that you can get it up and running in as little as 12 months. I mean, traditional liquefaction facilities take 4 years or longer. How are you able to do it?
Well, we are using some of the new and some of the existing. So the infrastructure to liquefy is exactly the same. So it's technology has been used and proven. What we're doing that's different is we're putting it onto existing marine infrastructure, jack-up rigs, fixed platforms, putting it off the coast, and then the real benefit of this is we get to use ships as our storage. So when you build these liquefiers, building the tanks is the expensive, complicated, environmentally most sensitive part. By using and kind of repurposing existing marine infrastructure ships, you basically cut down the time and the expense of that dramatically, and that's the secret.
So, I mean, this just comes days after the U.S. and EU last Friday announced this goal just a week ago for the U.S. to supply 15 billion cubic meters of additional liquefied natural gas to the EU markets this year, with hopes to ramp that up in the years after that. Have you already spoken to the administration about these plans?
Yeah, I was down in Washington, D.C. all day yesterday, the second time in a couple of weeks, because we're obviously very active with them in this application process, and then I went down to see lawmakers in the White House yesterday to talk about exactly this. Fortunately, we greenlighted this project about a year and a half ago. They say commodities, the only commodity you can't buy is time, and so we did it because we saw that there was a systemic shortage in gas around the world. It was the right thing to do, and it was a very good idea a year and a half ago that looks like a terrific idea right now, because with all this happening in Russia, Ukraine, Europeans' dependence on Russia for gas, this is now a real solution to it in the short term.
When we talk about that systemic shortage, is there enough natural gas being produced here in the U.S. to actually go through that facility?
100%. So we have an abundance of resources here. We're blessed about that in the U.S., and we have the infrastructure, and we have the people to actually to do all these things. I think that actually it's a real moment in time geopolitically where the U.S. can not only supply what we need today, but what is needed around the world here in the very short term. So it's a really exciting prospect for us, and to be a part of that in the short term is a big thing for the company.
The last time you and I spoke, it was back in October. You actually warned about the energy crisis.
I did.
And of course, you talked about, quote unquote, the messy transition to renewables as well. And obviously that was well before Russia invaded Ukraine. Where do you see prices in the market in general going from here?
Well, the prices really spiked last summer, and that's what we talked about in October. That's what it was. And then obviously with the Russian crisis, they went up even higher. I think it's less a question of just the absolute price today and more the duration of this problem. Because when you think about it, if Russia supplies 40% of the gas to Europe, that's about 150 BCM. That's about, call it roughly 100 million tons of production if you want to replace all of that. There's only 400 million tons in the world, and that's already spoken for. So this is going to take a long time to really sort out. And it does get back to this question about this energy transition. And I really come to believe that the messaging on this, the narrative of it, is actually a false narrative. When we talk about replacing dispatchable power with non-dispatchable renewables, and that's a fairy tale. It just doesn't really work that way, and I think you're seeing that play out in real time now. And it doesn't mean that renewables shouldn't be a big part of the future, but my view is we should shift the dialogue to what will really replace it in the long term, which is dispatchable power like hydrogen-based power, nuclear power. Those are the things that I think are the long-term solutions. And, if you're an optimist, you hope that something like this focuses you more on that in the near term here.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.